yeah, it's like, are you playing to win or are you playing to not lose?
Guys, welcome back to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Brett English,
I'm Ryan Ortega.
and we are joined by the great Alex Waters. Thanks for coming down, bro.
Yeah,
Yo.
thank you so much.
Good to see you guys. Thanks.
One question I've been dying to ask you for a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to go straight into it, because I've noticed a little bit about your history in real estate and business, and it seems like whatever you've done, you've been fairly successful. And is there anything that you do that separates you from the rest, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in business, or even now, that you can sort of tell that sets you apart? Or is it more so just like a lucky streak, which I don't really believe in luck, but
Yeah.
you know.
This tattoo says make your own luck.
Okay.
That's a really good question. I was actually reflecting on this exact same thing yesterday
Okay.
as I'm writing some new training for one of my coaching groups. And when I look back on my history, as like what you said, is like everything I've done, I've seemed to have just been incredibly successful. I was 17 years old, dropped out of high school, was a grade A student, right? But when I dropped out, I became a manager at Woolworths. At 18 years old, I was the youngest manager at Woolworths in the whole country. And I was getting paid 52 grand a year as a high school dropout. And then suddenly I got promoted again. And then I moved over to Arnott's Biscuits, then got promoted to Sydney 18 months later. And at 21, I was at like a national sales manager. And I was basically had people that would have to support me as analysts that were like 26, 27, 28 that had finished uni degrees and all this sort of stuff. So
It's pretty funny.
And then obviously real estate. So the one thing that I can boil it down to is when I look back on my career, even at Woolworths as a casual employee at 14 years old, working Thursday nights and Saturdays, I would go above and beyond. I was just always willing to do what was required to get the job done, even at times if I didn't get paid for it. And some people might look at that and go, what the fuck, why would you do that for Woolworths, a national ASX listed corporation?
Yeah.
that's slave labor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't see it like that. I was doing the job for my peers, for my boss, for that, and then I got rewarded because those were the people who made decisions.
True.
And I think it's so, that's one easy way that anyone and everyone can stand out, is just by working 10% harder than everyone else.
Was that your intention at the time, just to be better than the rest, or was it more to automatic function?
I think I wanted to prove to people and just do a good job. And quitting high school gave me that extra motivation because I was like, if I fail, then I'm really a high school dropout. So it's like a bit of extra motivation to be like, all my friends are at school, I need to prove that this was the right move. And I think that motivation kind of continued up until I moved to Sydney with Arnott's, and then I just kind of had a natural level of drive behind me to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
Okay. Did you have relatively positive thoughts your whole life, and did your parents sort of teach you about the subconscious mind and any positive reinforcement, or you just sort of...
Not at all, man. At 14, I think I remember like going to a counselor and I was semi-suicidal. Like I remember thinking, I don't know if I was ever really suicidal. I didn't ever like cut myself or anything like that. But I remember thinking about tying a rope up on this pole in my shed, and like, I think it was sort of a ploy to get attention almost. I felt quite lonely.
Yeah.
Or misunderstood, which I think probably a lot of teenagers do.
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Oh,
So I'm the
okay,
middle
yeah.
child. And I wasn't taught about any of that. Nothing. My parents really, I came from a low to middle income working class family. I remember when we moved to Australia from England when I was 6 years old. My parents told me a story of that time that they had about $50 a week left over after paying the mortgage, paying the car, paying all the bills, including the food, for like extras. And that was a family of 3 kids and 2 adults. So
Oh, wow.
Scary stuff, eh?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, $50. Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, that probably went a lot further back in.
Yeah.
You had probably 20-cent Freddo frogs and stuff like
True.
that back then.
You were born in
Yeah.
1990?
1990. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm 91, so I figured there, 30 cent Freddo frogs, 30
Yeah.
30 cent cones.
Oh man, 50% cones. And Red Rooster bought them out for 20 cents.
Oh, really?
At one point, yeah.
Well,
Oh
never the same,
damn, that must have been
Never the same.
Yeah, I think
No.
now that's like $8.
What I like the most was
Yeah. And right now it's like $8. It's not
$8?
Yeah.
$8
Red
for an
Rooster-
ice cream cone.
no way.
Oh no, Red Rooster ice cream cone was like $3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's inflation for you.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Man,
ice
I
cream
haven't
cone's like
eaten one in a long
$3.
time.
do you remember the days
criminal.
the Macca's in Frio, right on the beach where that new Bathers Beach House is?
Yeah. Is there a
Yeah.
Macca's there?
No, it used to be Macca's there.
Oh,
When you were a
really?
kid, do you remember that?
No, not
Oh
really.
man, they're the only Macca's in like the whole country to have chocolate soft serve. Not
Oh,
vanilla.
damn.
Oh damn.
That's a memory of a lifetime right there.
Yeah, right.
Wait, they don't do that anymore?
They're not there anymore, but for some reason they're the only Macca's that did that. So
Wow.
pretty cool.
Memories.
Good memories, bro.
Holy shit.
Now, something I want to ask you as well. You do a lot of work on self-expression and becoming the best version of yourself and that sort of stuff. What is your workshop called that's coming up and the one that you just finished?
Yeah, man. So the only workshop that I run in person is called Permission to Be Free Live.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a 2-day experiential, immersive experience that is designed to help people unlock their most authentic self.
Okay.
So that they can be confident to be fully themselves, and obviously the results of that equals getting more of what you want, being able to communicate better in relationships, attracting the right people in your life, getting the right opportunities, making more money, having more time, freedom, all of that stuff.
And all that comes from just expressing yourself and being your authentic self.
Yeah.
Do you think that we create ourselves or we discover ourselves? And how does that sort of come out to play? Or what you've seen in previous workshops and things like that?
I would say it's like a process of discovery, but I don't think there's any real difference between creation or discovery
Oh, really?
in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. But it's almost like you're trying to find the layers of really who you are, but you're creating it and discovering it, and they're the same thing, in your opinion.
Correct.
Okay, man. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Didn't
Okay.
expect the answer, but yeah, cool, bro. Also, when you're with your coaching clients, whether it's in business, spirituality, all the stuff that you've been doing, are there 3 things that you could find that are keys to be successful that separate those from the others, and 3 keys that will definitely lead to failure? That makes
That's a great
sense.
question. Yeah. 3 keys that definitely lead to success. Yeah. So there's a point in every person's journey where, because what I do is like a mix of spirituality, business, like, high performance, kind of like all compounded. Nothing's really separate. And the clients that exceed their own expectations and anyone else's expectations around them, they all get to a point where they stop resisting change.
Okay.
So that's the number 1 key.
Okay.
Because if you can stop resisting change, then when you come up against something with your ego, like, oh my fucking God, there it is again. I can't believe that I just dated someone again with the same fucking toxic patterns again. What the fuck? If you can get it to a place where you see that and just like accept it and move on, instead of getting caught in the like, but what does it mean to change? How do I deal with that? I can't let go.
Yeah.
Then, that allows everything else to shift. So that has to be number 1 for sure. Number 1 is that. Number 2 is a clear why, like a clear purpose, and just an understanding of why anything is important to them. And then 3 is like, what do they actually want to experience? There's clarity, direction. I used the analogy the other day to a client. She's like, this is hard to work out what I actually want. And I'm like, great. So if I asked you to run a race and I told you there was no finish line, how incentivized do you think you would be to run that race? And it's like, probably not. Because like, how long am I going to be running for?
Yeah,
where am I going? Which direction do I head in? And that is actually life, right? There is no set finish line. The only finish line is death. And we have to create our own path, our own direction. And so when you can create a what around that, it just allows everything in your life to start aligning towards that thing.
Wow.
Interesting.
What are the 3 keys that will definitely lead to failure?
Not being coachable, number one. So resistant to change, effectively.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Resistant to change, resistant to external perspective, and stuck in to me as far as the level of consciousness. This is happening to me. I'm a victim. I can't change anything.
Yeah.
I have a problem with my mind that prevents me from experiencing happiness,
Wow.
aka clinical depression.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
going down Andrew Tate path.
I was watching a video of his yesterday, so yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. Actually.
Yeah.
How would you? Do you have any particular tools that would help someone overcome that fear of change?
I mean, I think practice is the number one thing that
Okay.
that actually supports people in getting better at dealing with their fears.
Yeah.
Practice, and then the second one is actually just going to the root of the fear. So it's like, okay, well, great. You're afraid to start the business because it might not work. Great. Well, let's just go right to the end of that. Let's say you start the business and it completely fails. What then? And they're like, well, I guess, I guess I have to shut it down. And then I guess I'll have to, I'm like, cool, say it fails abysmally. You have no money, you're in debt, everything. All right, well, then I'll have to go bankrupt. Okay, and what then? Well, I'll have to move back in with my parents. Great, and what then? Well, my bankruptcy will be over in 3 years, and then I can do whatever I want again. And I'll just go and get a job, and I'm good at many jobs. I can go and get a job, I'll get paid again, I'll move back out before the 3 years is up, and I'll try again. And it's like you workshop it with people, and they're like, oh, okay, so that's the worst case scenario. Because usually what our mind is trying to tell us, this is how our mind works, it's programmed to keep us alive. Our mind relates every fear to 2 things. I'm going to die and no one will love me, which really sums up, I'm going to die alone. That's what we...
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what the first thing the brain goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so they think, I'm afraid to start that business, but really underneath it is like, what if I die? Even if it's not conscious. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's like a
yeah.
subconscious response, like primal.
Subconscious primal fear response. Yeah.
Now, because you've been so successful and all the things that you've done, does that normally trickle over to your clients, people that you coach? Like, are you sort of keeping them in a web of like this luck or this energy that you're sort of bringing? Or how can you teach that? That's given you that, not luck, but you're creating your own luck and making that success very, very definite and very, very possible.
Yeah, well, I believe completely in being in a vortex of energy that is going to support you. We've all heard you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And the reason why that is because energetically you start swirling in a vortex of that energy, and we unconsciously feed off each other. We are born to relate and communicate with one another. So it's like when you start hanging out with someone, you start using similar words to them in a way.
Yeah,
you might even start having nuances in your behavior, or your hand movement says them. And that's all unconscious. So if we know that that's going to happen, then you want to put yourself in spaces with people who are already experiencing what you would like to experience. And I don't, whilst I teach lots of tools, tactics, and strategies to help people, I don't actually believe that that's the number one reason people come to work with me. I've paid, $60,000 to be mentored by Preston Smiles over 6 months, and just being in that dude's energy quantum leaped me, because you're exposed to someone else's way of being that just penetrates right through all of your mind limitations. It's like I was in a room with where last year I was in a room with a billionaire, Brad Sugars, a room virtually.
Yeah.
So he was speaking to a mastermind on Zoom. He lives in Vegas, And just some of the things he said, he was like, you guys need to think bigger. Stop thinking about trying to 3x your business and look at how to 30x your business in a year. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like how, what, you know, because when you're asked a bigger question like that, it requires you to think differently. And it's like, well, how would I 3x my business? I'd run some Facebook ads. I'd go and do this, go and do this. How would I 30x my business? I'd have to have a scalable product that gets easier to scale and cheaper to scale with each time I sell it. I'd have to go and raise capital. You know, it just requires a different conversation.
Oh yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Completely changes your modality of thinking.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I have
Does
noticed.
that answer your question?
It does answer my question. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I have noticed you got a little group of friends, pretty tight. I think it's you and Jake Loretto, Jordan Canlish, and yourself are like 3 best friends or 3 quite close mates.
Yeah, we're close.
And I've just noticed that you guys are the most 3 successful people that I know, like in Perth. I'm like,
right.
That's interesting. It's like you're feeding off each other and it just sort of grows. That makes sense.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I actually, I want more people to be more successful, in my space, because I want to keep feeding off other people's energy, and I want to spend more time around other people who are thinking bigger and, you know, challenging me just as much as I challenge them and stuff like that. Yeah, that's why I love hanging out with Jordan and Jake.
Yeah, awesome, man, awesome. And when did things change for you quite drastically when you were in real estate, moving into business, and to what you're doing now is like quite a big leap? Why didn't you just stay in real estate and make all the money in the world? What made you really jump into spirituality and things of a high nature?
Yeah, well, Tony Robbins says that humans are motivated by 2 things, either pain or pleasure. And we're more motivated by moving away from pain than we are moving towards pleasure. So for me, if you looked from the outside in, I had a lot of pleasure per se. I was earning a lot of money. I had so many awards in the real estate industry. I was the owner of 2 real estate offices and another business overseas at 27. The primary reason that I changed was because it sucked. It sucked for me.
Yeah.
You know, I was flying business class. You know, I would go to Sydney for 2 weeks and blow $20,000 on hotel rooms and drugs and alcohol and like food, whatever else. No expense spared. I was the dude paying for Uber Blacks everywhere. Like it's such a waste of money, you know. But I was just internally unhappy. Like I'd created an external identity that I thought I had to be in order to be successful. And this is what a lot of people who make a lot of money do. A lot of business people do is they get to a point of either fame or success, and then they start to mold and shape themselves based on who they think they need to be to continue to retain what they have, to continue to feel safe and approved of, ultimately.
Yeah.
And so for me, man, like I just remember in early 2017, I was looking in the mirror, drunk. You know, I was an alcoholic and was taking so many drugs all the time, and I just hated who I saw. And that's what led me to search for answers. I didn't know what answers I was trying to find, but I just knew that, fuck, if I've done all of this and I'm still not happy, what? I need help. Like, I actually need someone to help me. And so that's, I went to do an NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming practitioner's course. That was like the first thing. I quit alcohol for 14 months, went to a Tony Robbins seminar, which was cool, but also just like, do more. And that wasn't what I needed at the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then that's when I found one of my primary mentors, friends, and now a friend in Preston Smiles.
Oh, wow.
At his workshop. Yeah. Changed my life.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a big journey.
Just that one moment of like pure, authentic honesty to yourself. I don't like what I see.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I wasn't happy in any way. Like I didn't like the look of my body, my face. I didn't like who I was. I didn't really have good people around me. I was just like, man, I was just spending money to try and make myself happier. You know?
True, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work. by the way.
I've tried, but it's not as hard, but I've tried.
Yeah, like, it really doesn't work. I've tried so many times, you know.
But how did your people in your environment get to accept this new Alex, or were there some people that just kind of ended up like falling away?
Bro, that's such a good question. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ridiculed me changing.
Yeah.
You know, because people like to box. People who are playing small in their life and stuck in their conditioning like to put everyone else in a box because it makes them feel comfortable and safe. It's like, if I know what and who you are, then I don't have to deal with variables in my life.
Yeah.
And I can count on you being the same. So I'm just going to keep projecting onto you that you're this version of you that I want you to be. And that happened many times. Like after going to Tony Robbins, I remember I started doing Facebook Lives back in 2017 when that was like a big thing. People were just starting to do them. And I was talking about, you know, personal development stuff and this and that and things that I learned. And I'd get stupid comments on my thing. But over time, man, that helped me move away from those people.
Yeah.
Because it's like, cool, that doesn't feel good to me. I'm going to keep following this path because I've tried that other path to death. I've tried it to death. I went all the way, you know, like most people don't ever get to a point where they have businesses turning over millions of dollars a year and like all this external success. I've really tried hard at it. And so, yeah, man, they did fall away. Different people did fall away. Some relationships fell away and then came back years later after I changed, and then they went through their own evolution or journey. And I think in many ways, I am a leader in life and in my life. And certainly I know I've influenced a lot of people who initially were threatened by me or felt the need to ridicule me. And they ended up going and coming to some of my workshops or my training or retreats and stuff like that. So
that'd be a good feeling.
It is.
An amazing
it's a great feeling.
You're obviously impacting them on a subconscious level this whole time.
For sure.
Now, when it comes to things like spirituality and money, I've noticed it's hard for people to integrate the two. A lot of people I know who are quite spiritual sort of shy away from money or don't really get into the business world, and it doesn't really lead to the most fruitful, productive life physically. How do you balance out money, finance, spirituality, and sort of integrate it all into one?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see them as separate. It's like, if you're struggling to bring in money and you're spiritual, or you identify as spiritual in some way, what are the beliefs about money that are getting in your way? And usually it's like, money is bad. Only bad people will make lots of money. I can't be charging for this because I'm doing a good thing from my heart. And it's like, well, go look at the history of money. Like, it's been around longer than you or I, and most people have been around. It's been around hundreds of, if not thousands of years, just in different forms. And you just got to ask yourself what game of life you're playing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with giving stuff away for free and not charging for your services, or not charging much. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're in a reality where you recognize conflict in yourself and you actually want something different, but you're in denial of that because you don't think it's spiritual, then you're denying your own soul's voice.
True.
Damn, that's
nice
powerful.
paradox for you. How do you view money now? Or how have you always viewed money?
Man, these are great questions. I'm literally writing a module on money the last 2-3 days. So
I was tuning into you.
Yeah. Well, because I've actually never taught about money before. And the reason why I've never taught about it is because I am not like a finance strategist. So it's like, go and invest in this thing and then that'll turn into this. My methods with money have been very unorthodox. Like, I've gone into excessive amounts of debt at times to help me, catapult forward.
You're like a young Trump.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I mean that in the best way possible.
Sure.
I like Trump. So.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So what was the question again?
How do you view money?
Well, money is just simply an exchange of energy. That's it. It's just an exchange of energy and value. And there is an infinite amount of money in the world. Right now, there is $96 trillion circulating the globe. $96 trillion. The US printed $15 trillion alone last year.
Wow.
It's like money. Is that suddenly? Where did that even come from? Like, what is it? You know, someone just decided to print it, and it's just a made-up concept. And I think people make money mean so much. They attach so much meaning to what it is for them. Money has nothing to do with your worth or my worth at all. It's not about that. I could say, I could put a different label on this and sell it for double the price, triple the price. You know,
it's pretty expensive. But
yeah, sure. Maybe you should double your price. No. Not using this as an example, right? Let's say the coconut water, but the coconut water is a good example because everyone knows that. This can is probably like $6, right?
Yeah.
You can go to the shops and buy a 1 liter bottle for
$3.
$2.50 even. Why is this more expensive? Well, just perception and value. It's what we put value on, and that's it. People have different perceptions of value, and so as a business owner, I just like to play games with money. I had a friend ask me about pricing their product, and he's like, I looked at all my competitors, and they're pricing around this, and this, and I was like, well, who really gives a fuck? Who really cares what anyone else is charging for it?
Yeah,
You're going to go find out your own customers who want your product for that reason. If you can create a story around that, it's going to work. So for me, I like to, now I just charge whatever I feel good about. Whatever feels good to me. I'm like, for certain services. So for my event, for instance, it's $350 for 2 days in a room with me, where people have come out of it being like, holy fuck, my life has changed. Is that worth $350? I think that's a steal.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, that's
true. Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
My next program up from that is like $5,000 to $6,000. So for me, I'm like someone in that right now who's only 12 weeks in, quit smoking, quit alcohol, has rapidly changed her health, got her driver's license, has just got a new coaching certification, is stepping up in all areas of her life right now, healed relationships with her parents, X, Y, Z, healed past sexual trauma. And that's that for me, $5,000, $6,000 feels good for me to deliver that.
True.
Yeah.
So I don't think about what anyone else is charging. And then my one-to-one is much higher because I'm like, that's a lot more of my time. I just need to feel super abundant in being paid that. So I'm just like, great, I'm happy with being paid that. I'm ready to over-deliver. Yeah.
And what is it that makes people change so drastically within this course? Is it just the accountability, or is there what is really in this package that can change people's lives like that?
We're really working with people's paradigms, and people's paradigms are their unconscious model of the world. So if you can change someone's model of the world from this to that, they're now experiencing a completely different reality. Let me give you an example. Someone who's lived their whole life, we're talking about money, someone who's lived their whole life struggling to bring money in, just like can't fucking have enough money. They've always got debt. They just struggle. And you dial in on what their beliefs are around money. And then you look at where that came from. And it's like, great. Well, my parents always told me money doesn't grow on trees. Only bad people are rich. And you have to work incredibly hard for money. Excuse me. You have to work incredibly hard for money. And as a child, this person heard all of that and then never saw their parents always stressed and always fighting about money. And they've just taken all of those lessons and applied it to their own life. And if you take that and you can help someone rewire their neurology and really bring awareness to that and then shift their beliefs around that. And they start creating their reality. Money is good. I'm a vessel for allowing money to come into my experience. I never say no to money. Money is infinite. There's $96 trillion in the world. What says I can't make $1 million of that?
True.
And then they just start changing their focus, because we all have a reticular activated system, which basically has us look at what we are focusing on. It basically just deletes and distorts everything that we do not unconsciously believe in.
Like a human algorithm.
Yeah, I love that. Human algorithm.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I believe money is bad, money doesn't grow on trees, I have to work really hard for money, and then I saw my parents never have it, I'm just always searching for opportunities of scarcity. Money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, we've got to save here, we've got to save here. Whereas if I focus that and start, money is abundant, it constantly flows into me. I always have more than what I need. And I start focusing on that. Oh, right now I've got $2,000 in my bank account. I've paid all my bills. I have a credit card that is drawn down, but that's abundance. I was gifted that credit line, and I have $2,000 in my account right now, and I have a fridge full of food. I have my family. I have fresh air to breathe, clean water. Holy shit! Wow, I'm abundant. And you just start focusing on that, and then your RAS, your reticular activated system, just starts searching for that around you, and opportunities start creeping into your awareness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Oh wow, that is pretty
That's
insane.
reminded me of like the guys like W. Clement Stone and Bob Proctor and all those people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the pioneers.
Yeah, like to see you as like a modern day version of those guys coming up, which is really needed in this world right now, because all those guys, obviously, Bob Proctor just recently died. I don't see anyone really stepping up in that space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks, man.
No worries, dude. I'm gonna quickly blow my nose. I'm gonna edit this part out.
Yeah.
How was the Tony Robbins event that you went to?
It was awesome, man. Like, I did the fire walk, so I did Unleash the Power.
right.
You've done it, right, Brett?
I haven't done it, no.
I thought we were talking about it. Must have been someone else.
Yeah.
So Unleash the Power Within, it was in Sydney, 2017. Never been to anything like that before. And I think it was on night 1 or night 2, we did the fire walk, where basically you walk across 5 to 10 meters of literally red hot coals.
Oh yeah.
Don't burn your feet, and
You don't burn your feet?
No, you don't burn your feet.
Did you believe you would burn your feet, or didn't? You didn't know?
I was like, nah, it's possible. And he tells so many stories of him doing it. He's like broken a world record for doing it, like 100 meters or something like that. And
What do you think is happening there?
Yeah.
In that situation? Because normally, if you touch a fire, you're going to get burnt. But
yeah, well, I think it's just an incredible demonstration of the power of the mind. And there are enough examples in our society of people who have defied the human limitations. Wim Hof is another example. And actually, in fact, there was a video of Wim Hof being played at that event.
Oh, really?
That's when I first heard about it in 2017.
Damn, that's crazy.
So,
that's way before.
Yeah,
way
that's
before, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's actually how he kind of got his big
Damn.
break, was through Tony Robbins.
Good old Tony.
Yeah, legend. But yeah, man, just the power of the mind. And, Dr. Joe Dispenza does a lot of work around the power of the mind. And just that, for me, it all stems from the belief that I have the power to influence my reality. And my brain is not separate from my body, it is part of it. And I have the power of my thoughts creating my reality, and that includes everything around me. And there are certain laws of nature that I can't defy, like gravity.
Yeah.
I think gravity's law of attraction, to be honest.
Gravity's law of attraction?
I think so. Mutual attraction. Think about this. You die, right? Your body hits the ground. Your soul leaves your body. Why is that? Why does your body stay here and your soul go?
Oh, it's like magnetization, you mean?
Well, I think that there's like your soul has a certain vibration
Sure.
of resonance
Right.
that's pulled to a realm of that same frequency, and your body is just pulled to the realm of the same frequency, because
Got
we
it.
are made of the earth, in
Yeah.
a sense. So that's how I would define.
I like
clever.
that. Yeah, that
There
makes
you go,
sense.
guys.
bro.
Do.
You heard it first.
That's groundbreaking. That and the human algorithm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
yeah.
yeah. I'm AI. Can I ask you some questions about boundaries? Some boundaries you had to set with yourself and also with other people that really helped you, really helped you grow as a human. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I'll start this by saying that every pattern, behavior, like everything has its light side and its dark side. So when we're children, we all make unconscious decisions about who we need to be in order to survive, be a part of the pack, be accepted, all of that sort of stuff. And some people, they get picked on and then they decide that they need to be funny and an entertainer.
Yeah.
Right, is that you?
Me. Yep.
Yeah. Funny.
I've done comedy a few times, yeah. But
Have you?
yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Funny and an entertainer in order to survive. So they're the class clown, they're always making jokes, and then people validate them and like them for that.
Yeah.
Right, so that's a beautiful and very societally accepted strategy because being funny is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
For me, I look back and when I really pinpoint it, I made a decision of, well, you're probably not going to like me anyway, so fuck you. I'm not going to even let you close, and I'm not going to try.
Okay.
And I'm going to be different, and I'm going to prove to you how much fucking better I am than all of you.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
So how that manifested in my life was, because I hear this with my clients, I hear it with other people, and I think it's sort of loaded in that question a little bit of like, when I'm trying to grow, it's hard for me to set boundaries with people who aren't supportive of my growth. And for me, that was never a challenge because I had that pattern.
True.
The beautiful thing about that is that from a young age, it's always been easy for me on some level to go, or not easy, but it's felt like my nature to go, fuck it, I'm dropping out of high school, I don't care what anyone else says. Fuck my parents, fuck the school, I'm not listening to anything.
Did you listen to
The
Rage
fuck,
Against the
dude.
Machine when you were a kid?
No, I wasn't an angry kid like that.
No, what's
Maybe a
that?
couple of times on Rage on a Sunday morning. But yeah, man. So I'm very good at setting boundaries with people, and just the dark side of that is I can also fall into a pattern of isolating myself. Yeah. And I'm way better at noticing that and just like, oh fuck, I've isolated myself again.
Yeah.
Let's reach out to some friends. But in the past,
Push the button again.
yeah, exactly. but in the past, it was like very challenging for me because I was like, why am I lonely? Why am I alone? So yeah, setting boundaries. I think you just got to be clear on what your values and priorities are in life, and they can change and adapt as time goes on. And I do believe that anyone who's been incredibly successful in their life at anything, at a sport, at breaking world records, in business, like whatever it is, right? Farming, they have a tendency at some point to spend the majority or a large portion of their 24 hours in the cycle towards their mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if that includes rest, right? But the rest is so that they can perform better. Their food is so that they can perform better. And I think, yeah, anyone who's been incredibly successful definitely sets boundaries like that.
What about some boundaries with yourself you've had to set in order to reach your vision?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things come to mind. In 2018, and this is like the opposite of money and stuff, but 2018, I had so many like pretty horrible relationships, really. Like just 3 or 4 in my 20s. Hadn't really gone that well. I'd been terrible in them. And I also I would consider a sex addict. Like I had sex with 200 plus women at that point at 28, and
Decent body count.
and I stopped counting at like 21 when it hit 40 or something like that, but I decided to be celibate for 6 months. And so that was a boundary that I put in place with myself, because I recognized that my typical pattern of behavior was that every single woman I met, whether I found her attractive or not, my mind would ask me, I bet you could fuck her. Or how, what would it take for you to fuck her? Like something like that. And I was constantly searching out ways to fuck. And even if I didn't
It's
really
like a
want
little
to,
bet with yourself.
Yeah.
sorry,
It's like a little bet you have with yourself. Like,
kind of, yeah. It was just a compulsion, really. And so 6 months of celibacy was a boundary I set with myself, and that enabled me to completely reshape and rewire my relationship with women, because I was like, great, I'm not having sex with anyone. So I'm going to meet this woman and just get to know her, just spend time with her as a friend, and actually communicate with her, hey, I'm not going to sleep with you.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not,
yeah.
like, I'm just letting you know that this is what I'm doing for myself right now. So we can't go there. And it actually created a lot of safety in these connections for women to get closer with me. And I was able to come out of that and, actually have female friends that I didn't just want to like fuck all the time.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Can I ask what you were doing with those 200 women? Like, was this like some system you developed, like, to sleep with them, or like, what is this, a natural thing? Like, did you like read Neil Strauss and things of that nature, or?
I did, but not until I was 25.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So at that point, I was like, I want to get better at this.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up going to the RSD World Seminar in Vegas at one point, Real Social Dynamics, which is the company that Neil was a part of
Holy
at the
crap.
end of that book.
Oh, yeah, true.
So yeah, was there a system? Not really, man. I think just like going out lots, getting drunk lots. I was
Fair
just
enough.
in the game probably
You
a
were
lot.
in the vortex, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty cool. How was that seminar, the social dynamics seminar?
Pretty bad.
Bad?
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty
really?
bad. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? As in, like, just terrible, or like?
Yeah, pretty terrible.
Okay.
It was just a bunch of dudes that are like very self-absorbed. Just trying to
Californian pickup artists, I suppose.
basically,
Yeah.
trying to learn how to use more manipulation to fuck more women.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
Alright.
that's interesting.
In
Yeah.
your sort of spiritual search, things you've done, have you ever experienced something really profound spiritually that had changed the way you perceive the world or the way you perceive God, in that sort of nature?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest experiences I've had like that have been with plant medicine. Not all, but a lot.
Yeah.
And or started with that. And yeah, I mean, I would say that no, let's actually start before that. Yeah, before I even started with plant medicine, after I did was in coaching with Preston, I was going through a process of changing my paradigms in the world. And a part of that was like just looking for and focusing on where I could experience love in every moment. And looking through a lens of love glasses, seeing everything as love.
Now I know why you wear the love glasses.
And so that started to completely shift my reality, because in the past it was like, I have to take care of myself. If I go anywhere, I'm going to have to pay for accommodation, stuff like that. And I started just to be more free in my expression and actually look for unconditional love in any moment. And I started to be open to more opportunities. I went to Hawaii in March 2018, and like got connected with some dude that someone I knew and stayed at his house for free for 6 weeks. And that completely started to reshape my reality with and my experience of God. I'd be out in nature and I'd start to say like, send me a sign. And then like a bird would just fly past. Or like I was at this, you know what's even crazier? I was at this beach in Karratha called Hearson's Cove, and the tide goes out really, really far up there. So in the mornings, the tide comes back in if the tides are right at that time. And I did that a couple of times. I'd be in there as the tide's coming in, ankle deep water, and I'd be like, send me a sign. And then I'd hear a splash, and I'd look up, and there's just this little shark swimming.
Oh, damn.
Damn.
You know, so people could. The reason I share that one is because people could say, "Oh yeah, but birds fly around all the time."
Yeah, true.
But do you really see sharks like that all the time?
I've never seen a shark like that.
No.
Exactly. It was just stuff like that, you know? And I just started to be connected in on that frequency and tapped into God and to my connection. So those experiences shaped me and changed my experience and relationship with God. And then I, started using plant medicine in a big way. And there's some big experiences that come to mind.
Did that change you a lot, using these plant medicines?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you begin or even define what God is now, or how you perceive it?
God is everything. Yeah, I perceive God as everything, as me, as you, as this experience, and it is constantly and consistently conspiring in our favor. It is absolute. It is always here, always available to us.
Is there any practices that you would give to someone to help deepen their connection with God, or to tap into that awareness of that?
Yeah. Meditation is one, like conscious meditation, focusing on your connection. Plant medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plant medicine for sure. I mean, you can access, I think these tools to start with are like ways to help the human break through the layers of conditioning that prevents them from experiencing what is already there. So when we do breath work, when we take mushrooms, when we take ayahuasca, when we meditate, we're almost like altering our normal state of being. And if my experience with plant medicine has been like, let's say you're normally here in your state of awareness and consciousness, and God is here. And you take mushrooms the first time and you jump to here and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Because you've just touched it. You kind of go like that and land there. And then you do it 100 times. When you're sober, after doing it 100 times, you just end up here, right there. You're just like right in alignment with that frequency. And you just need to make a couple of choices about how you focus your energy and awareness to be like, to allow your energy centers to open up and feel the connection, I think.
Wow.
That's my experience. But
Pretty intense.
What's your experience?
Usually pretty good. Pretty good. I did a session with Theo recently. It was a beautiful session. Just focusing on getting in the body. And I realized just how much I've been hiding from going inside of my body and sort of hiding in the mind, saying, oh, I'm safer up here. But in actual fact, I was actually in my body. It was like a paradox where I was just afraid of really feeling and going deeper within my mind and my body. And when I started really focusing on it, I could just feel these knots. This really, really like a towel being strained all through here. As I was breathing into it, I was opening up more and more, and I could feel different parts of my body activate, and I just felt so open and alive in all these different spots. And this the calmness and the feeling of openness and freedom, and just the ability to do whatever you wanted to do. Like you had this access to different levels of consciousness. For me, normally it was this calm peace, but also a lot of knowing. And it's very hard to sort of articulate because my vocabulary is not that great at going deep into these things, but it really unlocks your potential as a human being in the body and also the mind, which I didn't realize the body contains so much intelligence you can tap into, where I was thinking it's all just in the mind, but it's actually both when you can really embody it and also hold it in your conscious awareness. Plant medicine have really opened a lot up for me. I'm still trying to integrate and unpack all of it to really hone in on it and take it into everyday life. But yeah, man, it's something. Yeah, you just have to really go there and take them to experience it.
Yeah.
Where you're going.
Have you done any plant medicines with your clients?
I run a retreat called the Infinite Potential Retreat.
Oh, okay.
and that is the next one is in Portugal in July next year.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I facilitate in that space.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
What made you choose Portugal?
Everything is decriminalized there.
Okay.
Oh damn. Okay.
You found a loophole.
Yeah.
Not a loophole, you
In
found.
Portugal, I did not know that at all.
Yeah, they've decriminalized all drugs for a long time.
Wow.
Completely
all
changed
drugs.
their country. Yeah.
For the better? I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah, for the better,
Really?
for sure. Like they just don't have a problem anymore because
That's cool.
they're not treating and I use the word drugs then, like plant medicine, drugs, very separate. But you know, someone who's who's taking heroin every day isn't a criminal. They just are trying to, they feel so empty inside. They're so suppressed in their expression that they're just trying to feel something. And the closest thing they can get to feeling is taking heroin. And apparently that feels pretty good. So,
Yeah.
and it's like what those people actually need is love and connection and a safe space to heal. That's it. That's all addiction is. Addiction is just the human seeking connection outside of themselves.
Hey, that's actually very true.
That's very true. Yeah.
I think of Russell Brand something very similar is like all addictions or all substances or all desires are a cheap substitute for the desire to be one with God,
Yeah.
you know? And heroin's a pretty good alternative.
Yeah, exactly. Or cocaine or like
Yeah.
anything, for sure. Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, so Portugal totally decriminalized everything.
Yeah. Have you seen any crazy, profound changes in your clients ever since they before and after did the plant medicine?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like people literally have shifts that change their entire life in one ceremony. The retreat is a week long, and we sit with mushrooms 3 times in that retreat.
Wow, 3 times.
Yeah, it's just profound, like some of the shifts that can happen, because you know, I've heard people argue that like, oh, you don't need plant medicines and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, you don't. You also don't need breath work. You don't need meditation, but these are all just great tools that you can use to help you access a state of consciousness that you haven't probably ever accessed consciously or experienced. And so it's like what actually happens when you take mushrooms is the default mode network in the back part of our brain, which, think about those words, default mode. That is where the brain stores all of your habits, patterns, behaviors, unconscious beliefs in order to conserve energy. That's what our brain does, right? So every time I see Brett, I punch him on the arm like that. I say, "Hey, buddy!" Like that's a habitual response. I don't say that, by the way.
Yeah.
Or like you know, the way you answer the phone every time your mum calls. Hey mum, or like, hey mum, you know, whatever. It's a habit usually. So that's all stored in that part of the brain, including our autonomic nervous system, which controls breathing, because we don't have to think about that. Now, what happens when you take mushrooms is that part of the brain starts to shut down so that the left and right side of the brain can more freely communicate with one another. And essentially, the easiest and closest thing I can describe is it's like experiencing yourself without your usual patterns, without your default way of being. So what that can do is, for a person, is feel very unsafe because it's like, I don't know who I am in the experience.
Yeah.
But that's a part of why it's so great, because you can make huge shifts so quickly. Because anytime we think we know who we are, we're creating an identity about ourselves which is actually in conflict with what is. It's actually in conflict with reality. We're creating a limitation for ourselves, a limited story of, I am a man who is this age and I can experience X, Y, Z in my life because I'm smart and I'm this and I'm not good at sport and blah, blah, blah. I've just put myself in a box.
Yeah.
So we just want to help people rip the box off, and that's what plant medicine does.
So that box is essentially the ego.
Yeah.
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 That's interesting, because I had that same experience with Santa Maria or marijuana. if I have quite a little bit of it, I'll actually be able to witness my own personality, all my programs from an objective point of view, not subjective.
Really?
So I'm like somebody else looking at me, saying, "Oh fuck, we should just." And so I literally start to tinker with that, and if I for the next few weeks I'll be a better man, so to speak. But if I don't do it for quite a while, I get stuck into a rut and I get stressed with work. I can feel that coming back in, and if I do it again, I'm like, "Whoa, I go back to the time I was originally high, and I see the relapse of that, and try to call myself out on it and keep it going." I never really had words to describe it, but now you just said that with the whole back of the brain thing and all those patterns, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot better linguistically. Rewatch this and,
Sure. I don't know if that's how weed works versus mushrooms.
Okay.
I don't know if they work exactly the same. I imagine there's some
what you
similarities.
described was exactly what
For
I was
sure.
experiencing.
Yeah.
It's immaculate, man.
Yeah.
Because isn't weed a psychedelic as well?
It is a psychoactive compound.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, THC.
I've noticed that you have a lot of colour in your car, your clothes, everything like that. Why is colour so important to have in our lives?
Well, I mean, colours everywhere.
Yeah.
The trees are green, the sky's blue.
True.
You go into the bush, nature, flowers are all these different colours. So colour is what we exist in, really. And I just think that, for me at least, I was in a pattern of dressing to conform unconsciously.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll wear black jeans and a black shirt because that's what I saw that person wear and that looks good and that's what the shops have available.
True.
So yeah, I just got to a place where, excuse me.
It's all good.
I just got to a place where I realized that I wanted to be fully expressed in all areas of my life. And I like to say that I wear my soul on my skin. And so for some people, wearing the crazy, wild kind of colorful pattern clothes that I wear is not their soul. That's not their soul's voice. But that's what it is for me.
That's cool.
It turns me on. So
fair enough.
yeah, that's what it is. And I was like, cool, I'm going to paint my card. People are like, wow, what's that for? What business is that? I'm like, it's not, it's just me. It's just a representation of me.
Yeah.
Also abundant as well. Abundance. Like, you want to do something, just do it. No limitations.
Yeah, totally.
But I have noticed we've sort of losing our colour as a society. Like, all the clothes are getting grey, silver, devices, homes. Like, back in the
Cars,
70s,
everything.
the carpet's green, the curtains are freaking orange.
Yeah, man.
The ceilings, I don't even know, but like, so much colour. But now it's just become, there's only 3 shades of grey. That's all we've got, so to speak, in modern housing and stuff.
Yeah, 30 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, 30 Shades of
Or
Grey.
50 Shades
Yeah,
of
50
Grey.
Shades
That's
of
the
Grey,
movie,
yeah.
isn't it? I haven't watched it, clearly.
I watched it a long time ago. But alrighty, man. I'm going to go to some questions here. Has being a father changed you in a drastic way? Yeah? I'd imagine it's a silly question,
Yeah,
but
bro.
like,
Yeah.
I'd like to know a little bit more about that and like what happens when you realize you're about to be a father, and then when you are a father, and how that changes your personality or the way you see life.
Yeah, man. Well, when I was 28 is when Sammy fell pregnant. Sammy's my Atlas's mum. Atlas is now 3 years old. And we were actually at Burning Man when she was 11 weeks pregnant, and we were like, I don't know if we'd found out that he was a boy at this point, but she knew. She was like, it's a boy.
Yeah.
And we had a day at Burning Man where the men did stuff and the women did stuff. And I took 2 tabs of LSD.
Nice.
We had a men's circle with like some of these huge, conscious leaders. Adam Rower, Preston Smiles, like a bunch of other dudes from LA and California and overseas. And I remember we rode around, checked out some art, rode right to the end of the playa, and we dropped into a circle. And here I was, 28 years old, in this circle of men sharing their truth with this stick, barely able to talk because I took 2 tabs of LSD. My entire reality was shattering before my eyes. And what I noticed was how I just felt like a little boy in a circle of men. And all of my shit just started to come up about like how I actually didn't feel like a man. I didn't relate to myself as a man. You know, I remember it would have been like a year before that. I was in the shopping center, just in the grocery store, and getting something off the shelf, and I hear a woman say, just like a kid kind of goes past me. This woman say, "Oh, Billy, watch out for the man." And I looked around looking for the man, and realized she was talking about me.
Yeah.
You know, so the biggest thing that shifted for me was like that, just having to face the parts of me that didn't feel like a man. Where was I not taking radical responsibility in my life? Where was I not actually identifying and feeling and embodying what it is to be a man? And, you know, when you start to have a child, you're like, you go from just you and just being chill, it's just fucking you, to a partner and a child. And now you are responsible for multiple people. And, you know, I'd had businesses up until that point and stuff like that, but it's never really the same. And so I think just the biggest thing that shifted for me was like a level of maturity and responsibility. And as Atlas started to get older, say like 1 year old, you know, 1.5, and started to walk and all of that sort of stuff, we went through a separation when he was 3 months old, and I was definitely like out drinking and partying, just trying to get through what was really a really challenging time. Not necessarily using the most effective methods to do that, but it worked.
It worked.
Wouldn't have worked forever. And yeah, man, I just had to, you know, I remember there's like 1 or 2 times where I had him on a Sunday or a Saturday or something, and I was just slightly hungover, and it sucked. It sucked for me, probably sucked for him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and I just wasn't able to be fully present as a dad, and I had to have a good hard look at myself and be like, what's fucking important to you, bro? Because you say that being a father is important to you. Is it really important to you based on your decisions? And for me, the answer was no. I wasn't making him a priority. And that's a hard thing to, you know, kind of face. But I think that there are a lot of dads out there that are in that position right now. Yeah, and it also required me to look at everything about my life. So there was a group of people that I was kind of hanging out with, and I noticed that whenever I had Atlas, I wouldn't want to be around them. And I was like, why do I not want my son to be around these people?
Oh, wow.
Right, because like, I don't think they're a very good influence on him. Well, then why am I hanging out with them? You know?
Yeah.
Why am I hanging out with those people if I don't want my son around them? Like, what the fuck? And it also opened up all this whole can of worms of like, when a woman's pregnant and when she's breastfeeding, there's all these products that they say can't give to breastfeeding mothers, can't give to mothers. And why is that? It's because there's a toxic load in it that might affect the baby a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that created a lot of awareness for me around my health and what products I was using and foods I was consuming and stuff like that. So yeah, there was that. And just everything about my life, I was like, he's watching and he's learning how to be a man from me. He's learning how to relate with women from me. It's really up to me to set the example that I want to set. And there definitely have been, no one's perfect. And I'm constantly in a conversation with myself of like, how do I better my best and just show up better? How do I improve how I am as a man, how I am as a friend? Do I have friends around when he's around to show him what it's like to have healthy relationships? Like all of these kinds of things. So completely overhauled my life, bro.
Wow.
Required me to step up in a level of abundance as well, because, you know, we separated. His mum and I separated, and you know, she took all the furniture. Like I agreed to give her a big payout, and then I was paying child support. I was paying her rent for a long period of time, and I was paying like 2 lots of rent. You know,
Wow.
I had to make sure that she had everything and I had everything. So it's like 2 cots, 2 sets of bottles, 2 sets of nappies, like all of that sort of stuff.
Wow.
And obviously she took care of some of that stuff for herself as well. I didn't take care of all of it. But it just increased my capacity.
Yeah. Well, it had
Yeah,
to.
definitely.
Yeah. Had to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I made the decision that I had to. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow, that's cool. I love the self-awareness around that as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
I work with kids sometimes. I do work with kids, doing youth work, and I work with autistic kids and stuff like that. And I've noticed if I swear or do something silly, they'll just copy me. And when I see them copy me, I'm like, fuck. You just realize straight away that everything you
Probably gonna
do
take
is just
home.
being mirrored and taken on board. So it's like,
Yeah.
you really got to watch. I really got to watch myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
Before, when you had what would you say would be the difference in how you define love before you had your kid and after you had your kid?
That's a great question, man. Yeah, I just it just like having children gives life a whole new meaning, and it gives life an actual meaning.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I have a son now. I have someone to provide for and to love and to care for and make sure that he is the best he can be and has the best life. And I think before, my experience of love was probably quite selfish.
Yeah.
Selfish in the way I would relate with women in relationships. Like, not necessarily consciously, but unconsciously. Selfish in the way I would relate with my parents. And this, this experience of being a dad has required me to expand my capacity to love unconditionally in so many ways, because he could be, he could try and throw something at me, or like get angry with me or whatever. He's just being difficult to be around at times, which children, have their moments. And it's my job to continue to come back to love in that and hold a bigger space for myself and for him, so that I can hold a loving energy in space. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's kind of like taught you how to love without expecting anything back.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, which is really what love is.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in my previous relationships, it was like, I'm loving because I'm expecting back.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah, I'm loving in the hope that I'll get back. And of course, like, he shows me love back. And I'd be very, very sad if he didn't.
Yeah.
And also, I would still love him.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's like when you see, parents of like the son that, has massacred like 10 children at a school or whatever, and they're still just there showing up in the courtroom, like there for their son. And it's like, I understand why. Because like, you might not agree with what that he's done, but like, he's still my son. I still love him.
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
Unconditional. Yeah. My son's probably never going to do that, but.
Yeah.
With your work and things like meditation and plant medicines, do you work with the body much or work with the heart in particular? Have you had any experiences with unlocking it or opening it or activating that heart-mind coherence, so to speak?
Yeah, like within myself or with other people?
Or both?
Yeah, I mean, with myself, that's been a big part of the work that I've done, is to open my heart and feel connected with my heart. And that's it's a consistent practice of like coming back to my heart and back into my body. I think that the simplest way to teach that, and this most simple practice for coming back into your body, is breath.
Okay. Simple.
That's it. And it's like, if you just give yourself that moment, which most people don't. And I've noticed at times in this conversation, I'm, sort of sucking my belly, maybe even breathing my chest a little bit unconsciously. And whenever I notice, I just try to relax and
bring it back.
Breathe, bring it back. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm not a practitioner that does like body work or anything like that, but we do lots of different things in my courses, in my retreats, and in my events like mirror work, eye gazing, breath work, and a lot of those are coupled with conscious and intentional instructions to bring people back into their heart space.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I think I've been working on quite a bit, and it comes in fluctuations. Like some days it's easier than others. Some people you're with, it's easier than others. Some medicines you take are easier than others, but try to get that consistency with it is quite tough. I find my mind and ego is very overpowering, where it just sort of just gets into work mode, and then it's only once you've had 3 coffees and after a hard day's where you're like, whoa, where was I for the last 2 days? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I remember you were talking about your why and your values. How does someone find their why, and how they also find, what do they also need to do to find what values are truly true to them to drive them to the direction that they want?
Yeah. You know, the reason why a why is important is because when you really get to the point of life, my belief is that there isn't really any meaning. There's no meaning to this existence. We have to create our own meaning for it. And most people are operating from a survival-based why right now, unconsciously. They're doing everything just to survive, just to pay their bills, just to get to the weekend, just to get through the next day. And once you actually transcend that state of consciousness, you access a different level of abundance. If you access more money, more choice, more options, you get to a point where you're like, oh, why am I doing any of this? What's the point now? And that's a first world problem where most people that get to that point get overwhelmed by choice. It's also the thing that people are afraid of, is that space of the unknown. That's why people sabotage their own success, is because they're afraid of what happens when they have that much choice. And it's just simply because they haven't experienced it, they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So they're afraid of their own freedom.
They're afraid of their own freedom. Because it's like, if I have infinite possibilities and an infinite amount of choice, what the fuck? I don't know what to even do with that. So, did that answer your question about the why? What was it again?
Yeah.
Specifically?
The why. How do you find the why that's gonna?
How do you find the why? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think it actually doesn't matter what your why is, as long as it's something for you that is compelling. And so that could just be asking yourself, like sitting with that question, simply sitting with that question. Why do I want more money? Why do I want better health? Why do I want to be happier? And that why could be like, well, I don't want to live in this reality right now where I'm unhappy, broke, and unhealthy. And I want to prove to everyone around me that I can do it. That was one of my initial whys, is that healthy long term to do things to prove a point to people? Definitely not. Could it be motivating for a period of time in your life? Fuck yeah. So why not do it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I just use anything that will help me motivate myself to experience what I want.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But I think most humans have an intrinsic why, which is to experience peace and fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think that is what we all want deep down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do we find our values that are really true to us?
A friend, Mitch Vickridge, actually just directed me to a tool on Dr. John Martini's website very recently. He has a free values assessment. So that's one way you can do things like that, or just simply start writing a list of everything that's actually important to you. And then once you've got that, you can just start ranking them. The problem with doing that is that most people, me included, I think we have unconscious biases of where we think our values should be. Like, health is my number one value. It's like someone who goes to Macca's twice a week. Just because
On
they go to
Instagram, it's my highest
That's
value.
what-
Sorry?
yeah.
On Instagram, it's my highest
Yeah,
value.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or it's like family is my number one highest value, but they see their family once every fortnight. Because it's idealistically, I would like family to be my number one, but my behaviors don't really show that that's what's important to me.
Wow.
So I think that's an important conversation in values, and none of it's wrong as well. Like, it's not wrong to put family 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever feels best for you.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody trying to navigate, quote unquote, the matrix and the bombardment of propaganda, the media, like, world wars, Russia, all that kind of stuff, and getting sort of lost in that world that's been shoved down our throats, and really just finding clarity in that and how to navigate that space to live the life of their dreams while the world is seemingly burning, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Have you come across stuff like that before? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is just stop watching the news and consuming anything like that. Because how do you know that it's even true?
Which is a little bit sad.
Yeah.
That we can't trust,
Maybe.
our media sources.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think we've ever really been able to trust our media sources. The media started in the wars, like World War I, World War II, and it started as propaganda.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I think I actually saw that on one of your TikToks, maybe.
Oh, did you?
Did you talk about that?
I talked about that, yeah. I talked about Sigmund Freud's nephew becoming the propaganda specialist he took all of Sigmund Freud's work on our vulnerabilities, so to speak, and insecurities, and turned them into this massive media giant, and he worked for Rockefeller to re-publicize his image. And that's where the majority of our media comes from today. It's from, yeah. And also the grandson of the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who did that propaganda expert, he owns Netflix.
Oh,
Right.
damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a saucy trail.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Damn.
very interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, but there you go. And I mean, like, do I support war? No. Is there anything that I personally can do about it right now in direct, direct intervention? No. I don't have Vladimir Putin's number, not his friend. What can I control in my reality that will support the kind of world that I would like to live in?
It's beautiful. It's very stoic as well, just focus on what you can control and move on forward. It's actually a 3-part question.
Okay.
I didn't realize. Okay. The first one is, what was your greatest fear that you've conquered? And the second one is, what's the greatest fear that's yet to be conquered in your life now? If there is one.
That's a big question. What's the biggest fear that I've conquered? I think, like, generally speaking, it would be the fear of not being good enough. I would say I've mostly conquered that. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be good enough.
Yeah.
And basically it's like I'm afraid I'm not good enough for love. So yeah, I would say in a big way I've conquered that. Like, I'm generally very free in who I am. I honor my integrity and who I am and my truth, and I'm not afraid of that.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say that's a really big one. And what's the biggest fear yet to conquer? Man, if I'm being really truthful, I think it would be like really on some level still I experience that I have fears around, like, really letting myself be loved in intimate partnership with a woman.
Allowing yourself to be seen or just to be loved in general?
Maybe allowing myself to be seen. Like, maybe there's fears of, I don't think the fears are like have a hold over me.
Yeah.
I just think it's because they have, when I look back in my past, that's something that I've definitely dealt with and had my whole life. And I haven't really yet had an experience where I've been able to practice completely letting go.
Okay.
As in, I haven't met a woman that I've wanted to like be in a relationship with and practice that.
Do you believe that's something that happens mystically, or do you believe that's something you commit to and make happen?
Like finding a partner.
Yeah, and allowing that to unfold.
I don't believe there's any separation between that.
Oh, really? So you could commit and decide to make that the same way you could make $10 million.
Well, commit and decide that is mystical. The mystical is that,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
who comes up with committing and deciding.
Yeah. That's the ground consciousness, I suppose. isn't
Yeah,
it?
like if it depends though, because like that could be construed in a couple of different ways. If you're committing from your ego mind of like, yes, it's time, I want a girlfriend, like I need to have a girlfriend. Slightly different to like my heart tells me that it's time to commit and it's ready.
True.
You know, I'm ready. And I would say I'm very newly in that space now of like just realizing, you know, I'm very ready to like be in relationship, and I'm okay being alone. I've been alone most of my life. Like I've had short relationships here and there, but I don't want to do it anymore alone. I'd rather experience something different, and my heart told me that, not my head.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. It comes like from within a bit deeper than
Yeah.
the normal noise of the mind, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah, there's definitely still like, there's maybe fear / apprehension around really letting myself fully surrender and commit to someone else in relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about like, oh, hey, we're dating now, we're in a relationship, awesome, like, let's move in. I've done that. I'm talking like, I will let you see all of me. I'm going to let you in. I'm going to commit to this thing, like, fully, and let my heart be fully here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work at this when it's hard and, like, all, you know, really just, like, let all the love in. I'm going to let you love me so much.
That's like just going all in.
Exactly.
I suppose the fear that even came up for me is like, wow, if you really do that, open yourself up, fully commit, 100% in, if they were to leave you, they'll be like really like, the abandonment would be real. Like if you sort of faked it and it was half in, half out, there's no really harm. If you want to leave, you can leave. But
Totally.
when you're all in, it's a bit different.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're really living, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, are you playing to win or are you playing to not lose?
Yeah.
In life.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
I'm going to chop that up.
Yeah.
That's something I teach in my courses, in my programs. That principle.
Can you repeat it again?
Are you playing to win or are you playing to not lose? Because like a lot of people are just playing to not lose in their life.
It's like love and fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And you can never really experience love until you are willing to play to win, till you're willing to open your heart fully and risk failure, risk pain, you know? And in the end, pain will be experienced. And is that a bad thing? Because someone will die.
Yeah.
You know, say you love someone a lifetime, either you die or they die. There's pain in
Someone's
that.
going to die.
Someone's going to die. I mean, maybe not.
No,
you know,
no,
I'm hoping to live to 150, so
That's
maybe
true,
not.
life in general.
Yeah.
But have you found that you've made the most money when you've been really committed, but also playing by the rules and doing it small and little evolutionary growth, or have you made the most money when you've been really bold and said, "Fuck it, I'm going in"?
Bold.
Bold. Fortune favors the bold.
Yep.
That rings true.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, damn.
Yeah. All in.
All in.
All in, baby.
So this is like balls deep, like you're following every little bit of insight that your intuition is giving you towards your business.
Yeah, man. I mean, 25 years old, I started my first real estate business. I was the #1 performing agent in Karratha at that time, from the age of 23. So I'd only been in real estate 2 years. I was the #1 performing agent. I was generating $1 million a year plus in commissions, working for someone else in the marketplace. But I was in a market that was the most depressed market in Australia, perhaps one of the most depressed markets in the world, because the mining boom had gone like that and then come down like that. And it was going down like that in 2015. And I was up against agencies that had been there for 10, 20 years, people who were well known in the community, much older than me. I took out I had $130,000 saved in the bank to fund things. In my first month in opening my business, one of my competitors sued me. So a competitor bought the business that I was working for previously and took them over, and then in that deal got permission and authority to basically sue me under my non-compete clause of my employment contract. And they were suing me for setting up another business. Now, it wasn't lawful. If it had gone to trial, I would have won. But to go to trial in the Supreme Court of Western Australia costs you $350,000 in legal fees to do that. So if you don't have the money at that time, then what the fuck do? You settle. So wow. I spent $60,000 on legal fees at that time. That then drained my cash. I spent $100,000 on an office fit out. My money was draining fast. I had to ask my dad for a $50,000 loan, which he remortgaged his house to get out. I then took out an $80,000 unsecured loan from ANZ at 14% interest. And then 3 to 6 months later, I took out another $100,000 unsecured credit loan at 21% interest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
intense.
Yeah, man. Like I sold that business for $850,000, $900,000 a few years later.
At the time, were you thinking of just like closing down shop and bouncing?
No, there was no option to do that. I just started a business.
True.
I couldn't close it. I had no option. But that's something that like I like to teach as well, is to burn your boats. You know, people are like, oh, I'll start this business over here, but if that fails, then I can do this over here. And they're already thinking about plan B and plan C. And if you're doing that, like there are always going to be options there. But if you're focusing your mind on that, you're not really putting all of your energy and intention and focus into succeeding.
True.
In plan A. So
100%, man. And,
yeah. I've made some of my biggest gains when my back's been against the wall. Because it's sink or swim in that moment.
Then you're at war, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Are you ready for the final question?
Yeah,
do you have another question?
No.
Okay, so just imagine you get an opportunity to speak on someone's channel, and you know you're going to reach 1 billion plus, like pretty much the whole world. You get a 5-minute slot to fill. Big question, but would you take it? And if you did take it, what kind of message would you want to say?
Yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah. What do you think would be the husk of that message you would send out?
You're going to die. Stop sweating the small stuff and let the love in.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man.
Yeah,
that's where we'll end it. That's where we'll end it.
All
right, take two. Thank you, bro.
Simple and powerful.
Yeah.
I love it.